Hey everybody, this is Brianna. I'm just making this video, like you can see from the title, today just to give other moms out there who are planning a natural birth a few tips on how to have the birth that you want.
Ready, Scots, go!
Now, I had my daughter about 7 months ago. I had her at a birthing center and I did a water birth. And so I just wanted to share a little bit of the knowledge and wisdom that I gained. That's her right there. Just wanted to share a little bit of the knowledge and wisdom I gained in preparation for my own natural water birth. I did do unmedicated, and I do have about 12 or 15 tips that I think can really help out other moms to be out there that want to know some of the things that helped me in preparation. The first thing that I did when I found out I was pregnant was I started looking into everything to do with birth. I'd always thought doing a natural birth would be really fun. Are you talkative right now? I always thought doing a natural birth would be, maybe fun's not the right word, but something that I wanted to do, and that I kind of felt like was a rite of passage for me. Now it's the same for everyone, you know, natural birth isn't for everyone, but all of our bodies are made to be able to give birth. You know, like our bodies are capable of giving birth. And I think sometimes we don't trust that our bodies were made for this. And I think that's something that I had to learn. The first thing that I did when I found out I was pregnant was I went and I hired a doula. Now for those that don't know what a doula is a labor coach. So it is someone you essentially hire that is going to be with you every minute of your labor, from the moment you call them over to the moment you have the baby. And since I was looking into hypnobirthing at the time, I hired a hypnobirthing doula. She was fantastic. I don't know where I would have been without her. When I went into labor in the morning, I called her probably about a half an hour before I went to the birthing center, and she came right over. She knew how to do counter pressure, which is something that they do to help alleviate some of the pressure of, you know, giving birth and having the contractions, to help you make it through the contractions. They'll also, you know, they'll hit points on your hands and stuff to help take your mind off of the pressure that you're experiencing. They know how to move the baby in your belly, in case, you know, they do this kind of like belly shimmy with a cloth to help the baby move down further. And they're just, like, they have a powerful spirit about them when they're in the room with you, just because they have been through a lot of births. So she brought a really calming presence to my birth experience, and it was nice to have someone that was with me the entire time I labored. Because if you have a doctor or a midwife, even though midwives are fantastic, and we'll talk about that later, they won't be there the entire labor. They'll come and check in on you, see how you're doing, and they'll be there for, of course, the pushing and delivery of the baby. But the doula was so vital to my birthing experience because she was with me the entire time, and it was incredible. Also, another important thing that I had to do was I originally, when I first got pregnant, started working with an OBGYN. I didn't like the experience. I didn't like the feeling that I was getting like shoved out the door, and that they didn't want to answer a lot of questions. They just give me like a packet of answers, and they didn't seem like super interested to me as an individual, and I didn't feel supported in what I wanted. When I talked about natural birth, it was just kind of like, yeah, like if you can do it, you know, kind of thing, and I didn't like that. So at about 23 weeks, I told my husband, I was like, you know what, I've done a lot of research, and I just really want to do a natural birth. I really want to give birth at a birthing center. And so I started looking for a care provider at a birthing center. And that's when I stumbled across Beautiful Mountain Birth, which is where I gave birth. They're a birthing center in Draper, Utah, and they are incredible. And they have an incredible set of midwives, like fantastic set of midwives. And I went there for my first like visit, just to kind of check out the place and see if I wanted to work with them. And as soon as I walked in the doors, I just felt like I was at home. And when I talked to the midwives, they took their time and just really listened to my concerns. They really like supported me, and they weren't pushing me out the door. And I really, really like that. And that's, a pattern that they followed throughout the entire time that I was with them. They always took as much time as I needed at every appointment to answer any and every question. And if I didn't have questions, they would bring up questions they had on a list of things that mothers might be worried about or mothers-to-be might be worried about that they could talk about. Because it was so important to them that you knew all the answers that you needed, maybe didn't even know that you wanted. And they just were very individual when they worked with me. I felt like I was family. And so I just loved that. And they were very encouraging of me having my natural birth, of course, because it was a birthing center, but I just love these midwives. So, you don't have to settle. You don't have to settle for an OBGYN you don't like or a midwife you don't like. You need to be giving birth with a midwife or a doctor, an OBGYN that makes you feel comfortable and supported, because if you don't feel comfortable and supported, that's going to affect your birthing experience. So be picky. You're the one paying them. Be picky about who you choose. Another thing that I loved is I took a birthing class, also in preparation to give birth. It was a 5-week class for 3 hours at each one of the classes, and I took the Curtis hypnobirthing class that's located in Utah. It was incredible. I loved Laura Lynn Curtis. I loved her methods. I loved what she taught us. And you got to bring your spouse or your partner with you as well. And it was so nice to see my husband actually getting excited about birth. And it was nice to feel like he knew something so that when I did give birth, I had a partner. And I had someone who supported me and understood what was happening to my body, understood how to help me. And just was really there for me. So I think it was really vital for him as well. And of course for me, because it taught me breathing techniques, pain management skills, it taught me what was happening to my body so I wouldn't be scared because I was a first-time mom. And it really helped, settle a lot of my fears, and gave me the tools I needed to have my natural birth. So if you are looking for whether it's a natural birth or a medicated birth, I would really highly recommend that you find a class that will teach you what you need to know for that birth. So if it's a natural unmedicated birth, find a class that's going to teach you how to have that birth. I chose hypnobirthing like I mentioned, and it was amazing, fantastic. Everyone I've met that has done hypnobirthing has loved it. I don't think I've met a single person that has spoken poorly of hypnobirthing. So if you're looking for something to check out, I would definitely recommend it. And if you're in Utah, I would extremely recommend the Curtis hypnobirthing class. The Curtis method is what it's called. One thing I loved that I learned about in that class was my rights as a birthing mother. The hospital is going to tell you a lot of policies that they have, like you have to wear the hospital gown, or you have to be monitored all the time, or you have to do this, you have to do that. And it's good for you to know what's a policy and what's not, because if it's a policy, you can actually choose not to do it. You can choose to birth in whatever the crap you want to wear, and you can choose to birth however you want. It's your birth, and don't let care providers scare you into things. And that's one thing that I loved that I learned about in that class too, in the Curtis method class, was knowing what is our right as a birthing mother. So know your rights. What really helped me as well was having my husband involved in the birthing experience. Usually you're with your partner for a reason. My husband makes me feel safe and loved, and confident what was happening was crucial to me having that birth experience I wanted. And I wanted to be able to feel closer to him. I loved a quote that I heard. I don't remember exactly how it went, but it talked about how your baby began because of your love story, and having your baby is going to be part of your love story as well. And I really felt that that was true. And when I left the birthing center, I felt like me and my husband were closer, because we had brought this beautiful little human being into the world together. It wasn't just a solo act. It was both of us working together as a partnership to birth this baby. Another thing I loved was I'm a psycho when it comes to the internet. I look up everything, I watch everything, I read everything. But one thing I really had to work on when I was preparing for this birth was I had to make sure I read only positive things, I only watched positive things, and I only heard positive things. So I watched tons of birth stories, I read tons of birth stories online, but I always made sure to find ones that were in, my pathway. So I always watched and read about natural and medicated positive birth stories. And I really felt that set the tone for my birth, because I just had all these positive feelings about giving birth naturally. I felt like I was going to be superwoman because of these women's stories. And I know that not every birthing experience goes the same way, and I know that sometimes there are emergencies, but this helped me go in with a positive mindset instead of a fearful mindset. Another thing that I also made sure to do was I didn't let people tell us horror stories around me. I feel like when you talk about giving birth or talk about how you're pregnant, everyone wants to share their horror story of birth with you. They want to talk about how they tore or how they were in labor for 167 hours. Like, they just want to tell you all these horrible things. And I just told my husband, I was like, babe, I need you to support me and help make sure that nobody tells these negative stories around me. And he was my partner in that. So every time we were out with friends and someone wanted to bring it up, or, you know, hanging out with a bunch of girls, I always made sure to stand my ground and say, you know what? I just don't want to listen to those stories. I'm trying to keep myself positive and happy and trust in my body. I remember we were hanging out with some friends when I was probably about 8 months pregnant, and one of them kept on bringing up over and over and over again like a negative story or worries that I had, and my husband just laid it down. Finally, he's like, you know what, she doesn't want to hear it, please don't talk about it anymore. And it was nice to have that support of my husband, because I kept on saying, no, like, I don't want to hear it, you know. And I was really nice about it, but my husband just laid it down. He's like, you know, we're not talking about that anymore, please, can we move on? And it worked. And it was nice to feel that he had my back. It also happened when I was actually giving birth. I was at the birthing center, and one of the girls that was there with me started talking about some negative experiences she'd had, and my husband just looked at her and he said, if you want to talk about that, you need to leave the room. And that was like such a good feeling, because I was in labor, I was going through contractions. I didn't know if I'd be able to say something nice. I was very grateful that he was able to stand his ground and like make sure that I felt supported and I had a positive environment around me while I was giving birth. And so that was really nice to be able to trust in him to have my back and keep everything positive. One thing my midwife told me was when I was at one of my appointments with her was to make sure that when I had early labor start, you know, when my body was going into early labor, to make sure I slept as much as possible. So many new moms get so excited because they're like, yes, like, I'm going to give birth soon, like the baby's coming. And she said that's when a lot of new moms go wrong, because they don't sleep. They can't sleep because they're so excited. And what happens is if they have like a 15-16 hour labor, their body just is so exhausted because they didn't get a good night's rest that lots of times you see them having complications. So she said that's one thing that she's noticed a lot with new moms. And so I was very careful that when I went into early labor, I slept as much as I possibly could until the contractions were just too uncomfortable for me to sleep through them. Another one is just to trust your body. Your bodies are made to do this. Your body was created to give birth. And you can do this. I think that a lot of people have doubts in the woman's body, and that's why they want to bring in all these interventions and things to help you along, but your body can do it on its own, and you just need to trust that it can, and trust in yourself, trust that you were born to do this. One thing that really helped me with trusting in my body and in myself was birth affirmations. You can even look online, like, and they'll have lists and lists and lists of birth affirmations, and they're just things that just help, like mantras or chants that you can tell yourself to help you be in the right mental state for it. One of the ones that I love that I repeated to myself over and over again when I was giving birth was, these contractions cannot be stronger than me because they are me. And I repeated that over and over and over again, because you get through some pretty intense contractions, and so just repeating that to myself just made me get into that mindset, like, I can handle this, like this is coming from me. Also, if you're planning a natural birth, I highly recommend a water birth. I did a water birth, so I'm a little bit biased because I've only had one birth and it's been a water birth. But I feel like when I got out of that water, for the brief moments I did to get, you know, like a cervical exam or cervical check to see how dilated I was, it just, like, the contractions were, like, intensified. But when I was in that water, it helped relax me. They call it a natural epidural, is what they call it. It helps relax you and make you feel more calm. Your muscles are more relaxed, so the contractions aren't as strong or intense. And it's just nice to be in the water. I just felt very comfortable there. I know they have come up with something new recently. I didn't get to do it with my birth, but they have something called like laughing gas that you can use, and it actually has no harmful effects on your baby. So if you are doing it at a birthing center or with a hospital, please do check into that. Ask your provider if they offer that to birthing mothers, because they've done a lot of research recently and shown that it has no negative side effects and is actually really helpful for pain management or to help manage your contractions or in the pushing phase too. I exercised almost every day during my pregnancy. I know it sounds crazy, but us as a culture, like especially in America, we've started to look at pregnancy as like a disease almost, and something that gives you like a free pass to just laze around or eat whatever you want, like eating for two. But I did not take that as my chance to eat for two. I exercised every day. I tried to eat really clean. I tried to just be in my best health ever, and it paid off. I felt so good afterwards, and literally my legs were so swollen at the end of my pregnancy, and I didn't have preeclampsia or anything, but my ankles were very swollen. But that swelling went away within a week after having eaten, and I literally dropped almost all of the weight by the 3rd day. So I'd gained 42 pounds in my entire pregnancy. I lost like 15 to 18 of it after the 1st day, and then by the 3rd or 4th day, I lost almost all of the weight. I lost like 37 pounds or something. I had had a lot of water retention, but because I had been really healthy in my pregnancy, I had been able to fit into my pre-pregnancy jeans like literally within 3 days of having my baby. And so that's not the same for everyone. Everyone has their own like set of issues and problems that sometimes might arise during pregnancy or delivery, but I know that that really helped me, and I'm not one of those girls that just stays skinny all the time. I have to work to be able to stay thinner, and I have to watch what I eat normally, and this was just because I really maintained what I ate and also exercise and try to take really good care of my body. I believe in you guys if no one else does, and this is what's best for your baby. So if you have a healthy pregnancy and you have a healthy baby, you can do this. You can do it successfully, and you can have a fantastic birthing experience. I hope this helped you guys. I hope you have found some good tips in here. If you have any other questions, drop them in the comments below. I look forward to hearing from your experiences too. If you had a natural birth, I would love to hear how it went for you. I'd love to keep this whole entire video and the comments just a really positive environment for moms that are expecting, and I hope that this has been able to help you a little bit at least. Thank you so much for joining. Have a great day.